Okay, we'll start. नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। इतिपिसो भगवारहं सम्मा संबुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरिसदम्म सारथि सत्ता देव मनुष्यानां बुद्धो भगवाति। नमो तस्स सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। ये च बुद्धा अतीता च ये च बुद्धा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये बुद्धा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं बुद्धो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमङ्गेन वन्देऽहं पादपंसो वरोत्तमं बुद्धेयो कलितो दोषो बुद्धो कमतु तं मम। बुद्धं यावनिब्बाणपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। स्वाकातो भगवता धम्मो सन्दिटीको अकालिको एहि पस्सिको अपनायको पच्छत्तं वेदितव्यो विन्नोहीति। नमो तस्स नियानिकस्य धम्मस्सा। ये च धम्मा अतीता च ये च धम्मा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये धम्मा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमङ्गेन वन्देऽहं धम्मं च त्रिविधुत्तमं धम्मेयो कलितो दोषो धम्मो कमतु तं मम। धम्मं यावनिब्बाणपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो यदिदं चत्तारि पुरिसयुगानि अट्टपुरिसपुग्गला एषा भगवतो सावक संगो आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्खिनेयो अंजलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यकेतं लोकस्साति। नमो तस्स अट्ट अर्य पुग्गला महासंगसा। ये च संगा अतीता च ये च संगा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये संगा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं संघो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमङ्गेन वन्देऽहं संगं च त्रिविधुत्तमं संगेयो कलितो दोषो संगो कमतु तं मम। संगं यावनिब्बाणपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। विपत्ति पटिवाहाय सब्ब संपत्ति सिद्धिया सब्ब दुःखं विनाशाय सब्ब भयं विनाशाय सब्ब रोगं विनाशाय भवेदीघायुकदायका सब्ब लोकं हितत्ताय परित्तं वनामहे। समन्ता चक्रवालेषु अत्रा गच्छन्तु देवता सद्धम्मं मुनिराजस्सा सुनन्तु सग्गमोक्कदम्। धम्मस्सवण कालो अयं बदन्तः धम्मस्सवण कालो अयं बदन्तः परित्तस्सवण कालो अयं बदन्ता। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। अपिच्चस्सायं धम्मो नायं धम्मो महिच्चस्सा सन्तुट्टस्सायं धम्मो नायं धम्मो असन्तुट्टस्सा। पवित्रस्सायं धम्मो नायं धम्मो संगणिकारामस्सा। आरब्धा वीर्यस्सायं धम्मो नायं धम्मो कुसीतस्सा। उपत्तिटा सतिस्सायं धम्मो नायं धम्मो मुक्त ससतिस्सा। समाहितस्सायं धम्मो नायं धम्मो असमाहितस्सा। पन्यावन्तस्सायं धम्मो नायं धम्मो दुप्पन्यस्सा। निप्पपञ्चरामस्सायं धम्मो निप्पपञ्चरतिनो नायं धम्मो पपञ्चरामस्स पपञ्चरतिनो। येतेन सच्चवज्जेन सोतिनो होतु सर्वदा। येतेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु नो जयमङ्गलम्। येतेन सच्चवज्जेन पातु नो रतनत्रयम्। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। भावेत्वा चतुरारक्का आवज्जय्या अनन्तरं महासंवेगवत्तूनि अत्त अत्तीटवीर्यो जाति जरा व्याधि च्युति अपाया अतीता अपत्तकवत्त दुःखं इदानी आहार गवेत्ति दुःखं संवेगवत्तूनि इमानि यत्ता। पातो च सायमपि चैव इमं विदन्यु आसेवते सततमत्तहिताभिलाषी पप्पोति सोति विपुलं हतपारिपन्तो सत्तं सुखं मुनिविसित्तमतं सुखेन चाति एतेन सच्चवज्जेन सोतिनो होतु सर्वदा एतेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु नो जयमङ्गलम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन पातु नो रतनत्तयं नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्सा अविद्या पच्चया संखारा संखार पच्चया विज्ञाना विज्ञान पच्चया नाम रूप पच्चया सलायतना सलायतन पच्चया पस्सो पस्स पच्चया वेदना वेदना पच्चया तनः तनः पच्चया उपादाना उपादान पच्चया भवो भवा पच्चया जाति जाति पच्चया जरा मरण शोक परिदेव दुःख दोमनस्स उपायास संभवन्ति एवमेतस्य केवलस्य दुःखकन्दस्य समुदयो होति अविद्यायत्वेव अशेष विराग निरोधा संकार निरोधो संकार निरोधा विज्ञान निरोधो विज्ञान निरोधा नामरूप निरोधो नामरूप निरोधा सलायतन निरोधो सलायतन निरोधा पस्स निरोधो पस्स निरोधा वेदना निरोधो वेदना निरोधा तनहा निरोधो तनहा निरोधा उपादान निरोधो उपादान निरोधा भव निरोधा जाति निरोधो जाति निरोधा जरा मरण शोक परिदेव दुःख दो मनस्स उपायास निरुज्यन्ति एवमेतस्य केवलस्य दुःखकन्दस्य निरोधो होति अनेक जाति संसारं संदाविसं अनिब्बिसं गहकारं गवे संतो दुःख जाति पुनः पुनः गहकारकदिट्टोसि पुनः गेहं नकाहसि सब्बाते पासुका भग्गा गहकूटं विसंकटं विसंकारगतं चित्तं तणहानं कयमज्जगा एतेन सच्चवज्जेन सोतिनो होतु सम्पदा एतेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु नो जयमङ्गलम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन पातु नो रतनत्रयम् सबित्यो विवज्जन्तु सब्बरोगो विनश्यतु माते भवतु अन्तरायो सुखी दीर्घायुको भवतु सब्बमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सब्बदेवता सब्बबुद्धानुभावेन सब्बधम्मानुभावेन सब्बसङ्घानुभावेन सदा स्वस्ति भवन्तु ते नाकतयकभूतानां पापगः निवारण परितस्सानुभावेन हन्तु नो उपद्रवे देवो वसातु कालेन सस्य सम्पत्ति हेतु च पीतो भवतु लोको च राजा भवतु दम्मिको यं दुन्निमित्तं अवमङ्गलं चायो चामनापो सकुणस्य सद्दो पापगहो दुःसुपिनं अकन्तं बुद्धानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु धम्मानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु संघानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु आकाशता च बुम्मट्टा देवनागा मृत्तिका पुण्यन्तं अनुमोदित्वा चिरं रक्षन्तु शासनं चिरं रक्षन्तु देशनं चिरं रक्षन्तु मम परं एतावता च अम्मेहि संवतं पुण्य संपदं सब्बे देवा अनुमोदन्तु सब्बे भूता अनुमोदन्तु सब्बे सत्ता अनुमोदन्तु सब्ब संपत्ति सिद्धिया निब्बान संपत्ति सिद्धिया इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो सब्बे बुद्धा बलपाता पच्चेकानं च यं बलं अरहंतानं च तेजेनारकं वदामि सब्बसो सब्बे धम्मा बलपाता अर्य सच्चनं च यं बलं धम्मचक्रस्य तेजेनारकं वदामि सब्बसो सब्बे संगा बलपाता विमुक्तानं च यं बलं शासनस्य तेजेनारकं वदामि सब्बसो इमिना पुण्याकं मीना मामे बालसमागमो सतं समागमो होतु यावनिब्बानपत्तिया इदं मे पुण्याकमं आसवखयं वहं होतु सब्बदुःखापमुच्यतु निब्बान संपच्चयो होतु साधु साधु साधु. Okay, so today actually I have chanted 3 very small suttas or gathas, you can say. So we'll see the meaning of this for a while, for some time, and then we'll take up one more small sutta for which is again useful for the lay people. Last week we discussed about the sustainable living, and a few more tips you can get from this today's discourse. So again, about the sustainable living and of course, happy and sustainable lifestyle. If you seek for it, if you expect it, then definitely last week's sutta, that is Vyagya Pajja. Vyagra is like tiger. Pajja means like the paw, the hand or the paw. So that is the name of that person. So the discourse given to him, that Vyagya Pajja, or it's also called Diga Janu. He's also called Diga Janu. Very long arms, the long limbs. So he is Diga Janu, and the discourse given to him about the sustainable living, the 4 tips that one should look into, one should consider, one should contemplate, one should work upon to be happy in this life, and also to accumulate the merits for the happiness in the next life. There are again 4 tips. So we have seen in the last week, this Vyagya Pajja Sutta, and also to develop the faith. The faith means, like here, many people they think bad of faith. Of course, the wrong faith, the blind faith is bad, but the intelligent faith or the right faith is very, very important, is very crucial. If you don't have right faith, intelligent faith in whatever you are doing, then you can't give 100% to it. You can't develop interest, liking, passion, satisfaction, enthusiasm. All these things definitely you won't get if you don't have that right faith, because faith is an emotion. And if that emotion is not wholesome, complete, full of, say, liking, full of positivity, then you can't give your 100% to whatever you are doing, either it is in meditation or meritorious actions, practicing the righteousness, Dhamma, and all these different techniques, different meritorious actions like morality, generosity, meditation. So you can't practice these things if you don't have right faith based on right understanding. So in all these discourses, that's what we are trying to amalgamate, trying to bring together this faith aspect that will increase our, say, the intuitive wisdom. Faith always increases your intuitive inclination, intuitive wisdom towards this path, and the understanding. And of course, it develops a lot of positive, wholesome emotions like compassion, like metta, like consideration, like appreciation. All these positive emotions will follow the right faith. And the interest, all these things. The Iddhipada and the 4 wholesome feelings, the Brahma Viharas, will follow the faith. And again, we discuss about this some sutta where some intellect also should work, some understanding should increase. So for that, as last week we have discussed what is called this Vyagya Pajja or Diga Janu Sutta, about the 4 tips for the successful present life, happy and successful, sustainable present life, like good friendship, like and again, in the good friendship, the friend should be full of faith, full of, say, morality. So all these things we have. Again, I don't want to repeat those things. So again, that will increase our understanding, our wisdom, our conscious wisdom. Our conscious understanding will increase with that kind of discussion. And with this faith, our subconscious wisdom, that will increase. So both should be handled, both should be, say, taken together, both should be worked upon. Then only, again, there will be a sustainable development, sustainable growth in our wisdom. If you simply stick on to only the intellectual, analytical wisdom, the conscious wisdom, and if you ignore this subconscious wisdom based on the faith, then it will not be sustainable. The wisdom will not be sustainable. The same way, if you simply depending on this subconscious wisdom based on faith, based on that intuitiveness, again you will become, you may fall into this this trap of blind faith. It may become fanaticism. It may become blind faith. So to escape from these extremes, we have to bring them together. This subconscious wisdom based on this right faith, this intuitive wisdom, and also the conscious understanding of what is right, what is wrong, what is useful, what is not useful. Little bit analytically, little bit logically, we should understand. So that is like that is the second aspect that always we consider, we discuss in our this Dhamma talks. Okay, that is about last week. And today also we will see a few aspects that will work on our subconscious, on our intuitive wisdom, and a few aspects that will open up our thinking, or understanding, or analysis, or logical mind, or perceptions. It will work upon our perception mind. So, with regard to this first chanting, which is again, of course, for the intuitive wisdom, the first chanting that was chanted is Atta Mahapurisa Vitakka. Mahapurisa. Atta means 8. Mahapurisa means like great men. Vitakka means that one should contemplate. The great men always contemplate, or the great men say, if you want to progress in this path, these 8 qualities you should always contemplate. So what are these 8 qualities? Apichasayang Dhammo, Nayang Dhammo Mahichasa. What does it mean? Apicha means Alpa Icha. Alpa Icha means the people who are of, say, who expect little from this world, not greedy people. The greedy people, too over ambitious people, over greedy people, over miserly people, or people who are interested in that greediness and holding on to the things, the worldly things. For them, this is not the Dhamma. This is not the path. This is not the Dhamma. For whom this is the right path? Mahichasa. Nayang Dhammo Mahichasa. Mahichasa means like those who expect so much. For them, this is not the path. Apichasa means Alpaicha. For those who expect little, for them this is the path. Those who expect so much, too much from this worldliness, from this world, those who are completely carried away by this worldliness, for them this is not the Dhamma. That is the first Mahapurisa Vitakka. That is the first contemplation that one should say start, one should work upon to progress in this Dhamma. So if I am interested in holding on to the things, embracing or say grabbing many things, and then having too highly say over ambitious desires, or over ambitious vision or missions, if some people take up it, of course the worldly missions, for them this is not the path. Santuttasa Dhammo, Nayang Dhammo, Asantuttasa. Santutta means like some trupti, like the people who are contented, those who are happy with contentment, those who have understood the real happiness in the contentment, the satisfaction, the contentment. For them, this is Dhamma. This Dhamma is for them, not for Asantuttasa. Asantuttasa means like those who are say not having trupti, asantrupti, not having this contentment. Those who are discontented always, because of greed and ambition, want this, want that, and simply mind will wander and it will simply become restless. So that for that kind of people who are not like say happy with small things, those who are not contented with whatever they have, for them this is not the Dhamma. Pavivitasayang Dhammo, Nayang Dhammo, Sangadikaramasa. So that second aspect is Santrupti, Santutti. First one is Alpaicha, having less desires. And the second one is Santrupti, contentment. And the third point that Buddha is talking about these 8 contemplations of good people. So the third one is Pavivitasayang Dhammo. Pavivita, Paviveka means like loneliness, aloofness, enjoying being alone. For them is this Dhamma. Nayang Dhamma. Na means like no. This is not Dhamma. For whom? Sanganika Ramasa. Sanganika. Sangha means like those who always be in the group, in the midst of people, those who enjoy, those who are completely obsessed with the company of people, in the groups. Always they want some people around them, either to talk some nonsense or whatever it is. Those who enjoy a lot of people around them, and then those who call that, what you call, they can't enjoy the loneliness. For such people, this is not the Dhamma. Because of all this is working on the mind. If you are lonely, if you are alone, then only you can go inwards and you can work upon your mind. So in that way, this COVID situation is useful actually for those who are truly want to be in this path, in this path of Dhamma. So then automatically you are into this aloofness or this seclusion or this isolation. You are into this this kind of say you have lockdown inside. You have now you go a little more inside and you just say lockdown within your body and mind. Then you can appreciate this path based on the different tips and different techniques that you have learned. Then you start exploring and start reading your own mind, start understanding your own mind. Then definitely you will understand the beauty of loneliness, the happiness of loneliness, the happiness of this aloofness. So that is the third criteria for a person to progress in this Dhamma. Aradha Viryasa and Dhammo, Nayang Dhammo, Kusitasa. Aradha Virya means like full of vigor and energy. Those who are very enthusiastic, very those who don't hesitate to put forth their efforts, their energy in meditation or in cultivating these meritorious actions. For them, this is the right Dhamma. Not for Kusita Vira. Kusita Virya means like, Kusita means like say it's like for lazy people. There is no virya, there is no energy, there is some kind of say half-dead people or lazy people or say indolent people, those who are very much into this kind of laziness. So this Dhamma is not suitable. The mind should be full of energy, full of enthusiasm, full of that invigoration, that vigor should be there. Then only they should plunge into these meritorious actions, then only they can plunge into meditation. So for them only this path, this right view approach to progress in merits, to accumulate merits, and also the purity of mind. Then that is the fourth condition that Buddha is talking about to progress in this Dhamma. And the fifth one is Upattita Satissa and Dhammo. Nayan Dhammo Mutta Satissa. Mutta Satissa means like, Sati means like mindfulness. This is for Upattita means like established. Upattita means like established. Those who are established in mindfulness, for them, this is the path. Those who are very unmindful, very restless or unmindful people, simply in their dream world, they're not in the present world, they're simply in their dream world. For them, this is not the Dhamma. So that's what in all these 5 sense meditations for this Panchavinyana, you are training your senses, your mind to be in the present moment. So that's how you are increasing your Upattita Sati. Upattita means established or evolved mindfulness, established mindfulness. So when you are in this established and evolved mindfulness, then this Dhamma is suitable, this path is suitable, this right view development is suitable. Then Samahita, that is the 5th one. Then the 6th one is Samahitasa and Dhammo, Nayang Dhammo, Asamahitasa. Samahita means like bringing the things together, concentration. Like all the mental factors, they should come together, they should be grouped together. Samahita, Samuha. You might have heard of this word Samuha in Indian languages. Samuha means like grouping together, bringing the things together. Like not the people, it is the mental factors, like your energy, like your interest, like your say your mindfulness, your wisdom, everything you bring together. That means you are developing concentration. That's what you do in this Anapana meditation. Yeah, you bring all your mental factors together, and that is what is called samahitasa. So for such people is this path. Those who are interested in concentration, developing the concentration. There are so many other techniques I have seen when I was, say very young. So many people diverting the mind is good. In that way, they promote. They promote some techniques, divert your mind, or uh, say unfocus your mind. It's actually focusing the mind that is Dhamma, that is concentration, that leads to your mental development. It's simply unfocusing or simply allowing the mind to go as it likes. That is asamahitasa. That is like say restless mind or unfocused mind. So people who are interested in that kind of unfocusedness, again, the people who are crazy, like who are like not having proper goal in the life, for such people, this kind of asamahitasa, this unfocusedness will be there in the life. So for such people, this is not the Dhamma. This is not the path. This right view is not the path for them. This is not suitable for them. So that is the 6th point. Then the 7th point. So 8 things that we are discussing, which are suitable for progressing in Dhamma and practicing Dhamma. The 7th one is Panyavantasayang Dhammo, Nayang Dhammo Duppannasa. Panyavantasa means for wise people, for intelligent people, for wise people, this path. Not for Duppanna, not for stupid people, or not for deluded people. So deluded people, they can't progress in Dhamma. They should use their intelligence, their panya, their wisdom, their correct understanding and analysis and clarity. They should have that liking for that clarity. What is right, what is wrong, what is beneficial, what is not beneficial. That eager, that inquisitive minds. Those inquisitive minds, those wise people, wise minds, or intelligent minds, for them only this path. Not for stupid people, not for wrong view people, not for deluded people. So that is the 7th Mahapurusha Vitakka, the contemplation that has to be done by the good people. Then next one is, last one, 8th one is Nippapancharamasayang. Nippapancharamasayang means like say, Ramasayang means like one should delight. So in what one should delight? Nippapancha. Nippapancha means like in nothingness, not in this worldliness. In the worldliness, if you are delighting, if you are enjoying the worldliness, too much carried away by this worldliness, then you can't involve in this, you can't progress in this path. Those who are not, papancharamasa means like those who are indulged in these worldly things, completely carried away by these worldly things. For such people, Nayang Dhamma, this is not the Dhamma. So this Dhamma is not suitable for those who are completely carried away by this worldliness. Papancharamasa, Nippapancharamasa. Being carried away by this worldliness, not being carried away by this worldliness. That is the Nippapancharamasa. So in that way, these 8 conditions that one should contemplate, then he will progress in this Dhamma. In that way, being the Atta Mahapurusha Vitakka, the small Gatha discourse is there. Next, the second thing that I have chanted today is like Mahasamvegavattu, what one should contemplate to get that urgency, spiritual urgency. Again, there are 8 in that. So there are 8 things that one should contemplate. Then he will develop that spiritual urgency to cultivate these meritorious actions, practice meditation, and thereby develop the right view and develop the right liberation, right concentration, right mindfulness, right liberation. So there are 8 motivating things which will motivate you to develop that kind of spiritual urgency. Spiritual urgency means less, yes, like a lot of danger is there. I should work. Just like when you're covered by, say, the fire all around you, then you become very alert, and when you become, say, very sharp in finding out the way to escape from that fire or any calamity or any danger. The same way, when you see the danger or fire in this world, the worldliness, then you start escaping from this world. Then you start developing that interest in escaping from that world. That is what is called samvega, spiritual urgency. Again, there are some 8 samvega vattu. That, of course, a separate discourse we can have. So some of them, of course, this jati, jara, vyadi, chuti, apaya, these things, if you contemplate, the dukkha, if you can contemplate, there is dukkha in this old age, dukkha in this disease, dukkha in this chuti, death. If all these things, if you can contemplate, then you think of escaping from this world, and you develop a lot of eagerness to practice meditation and develop right mindfulness, right view, right mindfulness, right liberation. Yeah, in that way, where all the dukkha is there. Apiyehi sampayoga dukko, piyehi vipayoga dukko, tampichang nalabati tampi dukkam. Whatever we wish, we are not getting. A lot of disappointment, distress. All these things are there. A lot of stress is there, and all this worldliness. So in that way, if you contemplate these different things that will cause dukkha around you, and if you keep looking these things which will create dukkha from within and from outside, then you get samvega. That's how Buddha also got samvega. When he saw one dead body, when he saw one, say, a sick person, an old person, and when many people saw some kind of dissatisfaction in worldly pleasures like wealth, like sensual pleasures, then they see, what is this unsatisfactoriness? What is this dukkha in this world? So let us work on this samatha sukha, balancing the mind, purifying the mind, and getting the true happiness. Let us work on this right view meditations. In that way, Buddha and most of his followers, they, after seeing this samvega vattu, which caused that spiritual urgency, which will make them to realize all these worldly things, whatever happiness they give, it's all temporary. It only, like, say, it's like bodily pleasure or the ego pleasure, mental pleasure. So beyond that, there is something called samatha sukha, the pleasure of equanimity, the joy of equanimity. We should work for it, we should develop it, and we should try to escape from this sensual trap and this ego trap. So that kind of understanding they develop, and that one is mentioned in this small vattu, like one small gatha, small verses. That is about this Attamaha Samvega vattu. Then the other, say, gatha or other discourse that we contemplated is Paticca Samuppada. Of course, this requires both faith and also wisdom to understand this. Paticca Samuppada is very deep. So, but I chanted this because at least you should know at least this word Paticca Samuppada, and then you will not fall into the extreme views of body-centeredness or soul-centeredness. You will appreciate the mind-centeredness. The right view you will develop. Oh yes, working on the mind, purifying the mind, coming out of the ignorance of the mind. So that is more important. That understanding you will get in this dependent origination. Though the different links, maybe that there are some 12 links. What leads to what? So to understand these 12 links, of course, you may require some preliminary knowledge about a lot of things, the right view. But one basic thing that you will understand in this Paticca Samuppada is, see, for all our dukkha, for all our suffering, our craving, and our ignorance, Avidya Pachaya Sankara, because of our not knowing our mind, not correctly understanding how to balance our mind. That has led to all kinds of, say, old age, birth, death, old age, sickness, attachments. All these things started because of our ignorance only. Avidya means ignorance. So working on ignorance through intelligence, through buddhi, that is what is the mission of the people who are into this right view culture. So right view is all about hitting your ignorance and melting your ignorance, and thereby you start seeing the light. You start progressing in the true happiness, the happiness of stillness, the happiness of equanimity, the happiness of tranquility, and of course the happiness of liberation. You start getting, if you understand this, paticca samuppada, dependent origination. Avidya, ignorance, leads to all the mental formations, all the memories, and all these mental formations and memories lead to vijnana consciousness. Consciousness leads to body and mind, all of the faculties of the mind and the body and mind leads to all these 6 senses that you are, say, you practice the panchavinyanas, the eye sense, nose sense, tongue sense, touch sense, ear sense, and also the mind sense. That is what is called salayatana, 8 ayatana, 6 doors. Cha means 6 doors. Through 6 doors only, we get in touch with the world and we develop more pollution, more garbage in the mind. We start taking more garbage, more corruption we start taking from the world, and we get attached to it. So from these 6 senses, if you don't mend it, don't sharpen it, don't sensitize it, then it will corrupt you. And then from there, salayatana. So all contacts you develop with the world, and it will lead to vedana, sensations. It will lead to sensations. That sensations lead to attachment. This is good, this is bad. I like this, I don't like this. That kind of attachment start. Greed, hatred starts. And from that, clinging, strong attachment starts. Strong attachment lead to again and again taking birth. It leads to repeated births. And once this birth comes, then old age, sickness, dukkha, domanasa, upayasa, stress, anxiety, lamentation, all these things start. All kinds of dukkha starts. So once you hit this avidya, ignorance, through different moves, through this right view is always, it's for this purpose only, to hit this ignorance. Through practice, through understanding, through right feelings, through right energy, through right faith, all these things will increase your right view, and right view hits the ignorance, and slowly, slowly you start melting your suffering also. When you start melting ignorance, you start dissolving and you start coming out of suffering. So that is the beauty of this paticca samuppada, and of course it has so many steps. These 12 steps are there to understand each step, how ignorance leads to next step, and next step leads to another step, and how all these steps lead to suffering, and how by dissolving ignorance, all these steps, they become shrunk, they become weak, and how it leads to the happiness, that understanding. Of course, slowly, slowly we'll get. But now, this is, let us say, this is one kind of foundation, let it be there in your mind. For all our suffering, though craving is on superficial reason, craving is the cause of suffering. The deep reason is like an iceberg. The iceberg, the tip of the iceberg is like your craving. That is the only thing that you see. So it is only the tip, only 1/10 of an iceberg you can see, let us say. Remaining 9/10 of the iceberg, it is hidden in the ocean, in the water. And that is ignorance. Ignorance always leads to the craving. So though you have to work on the craving, but its base is in the ignorance. So when you start working on this ignorance through these right view techniques, then you start melting that iceberg. When you start melting that suffering, then you can become free from suffering. So that understanding one should have. Then only one will appreciate the importance of right view And one can adopt, one can utilize, one can make use of the right view techniques in all aspects of life. Right view, right mindfulness, again, it is rooted in right view. Right actions, it is rooted in right view. Right speech is rooted in right view. Meritorious actions are rooted in right view. Right concentration is rooted in right view. Right liberation, right knowledge is rooted in, again, right view. In that way, you start appreciating the different dimensions, the different aspects of right view when you understand this paticca samuppada, or this dependent origination. So after this, actually Buddha started exclaiming after his enlightenment, after understanding this dependent origination, Buddha exclaims, so I have repeatedly taken birth in this world again and again, without any control, like one, say, without developing my mind, thinking that some creator God is creating me again and again. So with that uncontrolledness, I suffered, I took birth, I suffered, I died, again I took birth, I suffered. This was going on for millions and millions of times. But now I discovered Gahakaraka Dittosi. I have seen. Gahakaraka means the builder of the house. My builder of the house builder is not some creator God. It is my own ignorance. It's my own ignorance that is building this body again and again. I have destroyed this builder. I have destroyed this ignorance. And then now there is no building for me. Then there is no creation of any building. Then that means there is no rebirth for me. And that way Buddha exclaims. That means, so he realized it is not some creator God who is creating me. It is my own ignorance that is creating me. I should work on this ignorance with right views, with right view approach. Then I can liberate from all kinds of suffering in this life also, and of course in the subsequent lives also. That kind of understanding Buddha developed after contemplating, after say penetrating into this dependent origination. After the enlightenment, that's what Buddha did. In the third week or fourth week, I think. In the fourth week after his enlightenment, there's one jewel chamber in Bodh Gaya. They're very near to that Bodhi tree. There is one jewel chamber, Ratnagara. It's called Ratnagara. So there, Buddha sat for 1 week and contemplated this dependent origination. And after contemplating this dependent origination, he became very clear, and he realized that it is our own ignorance that creates this body, that creates all suffering, that creates rebirth, that creates all kind of defilements, or all kind of mental formations, defilements in the mind. Once you hit this ignorance, with your own right view, with your own wisdom, right view wisdom, then you can be free from suffering. That's what is Buddha's understanding on the fourth week, sitting in the jewel chamber after contemplating this dependent origination. How origination means like how the things will start, say, arising based on ignorance. That is what is dependent origination. Everything is dependent on ignorance only. Your life, your repeated births, your old age, your sickness, your mental formations, your body and mind, and your six senses, everything, your craving, your feeling, your vedana, your sensation, your clinging, strong attachment, everything is rooted in ignorance only. That one has to hit with right view. So that understanding Buddha got after contemplating this paticca samuppada. Depending on ignorance, everything arises. That's what he realized. So this is about the different gathas that we chanted today. And another 5 minutes or so, we will see as a continuation of last week's discourse for the lay people. So the 4 aspects, like how to, about earning, about saving, about right association, about balanced livelihood, So all those things you have seen. So in the last week discourse, it's something like its continuation. We will see what are the other conditions that lead to happy living, that lead to sustainable living. So that is explained in what is called Ananna Sutta or Ananya Sutta. Rina, unrina. It's like no debt. Rina means like debt. Rin, rina. I think it should be there in many Indian languages also. Rina means like debt. Unrina means like no debt. Debtlessness. If you are debtless, that is also one of the primary conditions for your happiness. So this sutta is about debtlessness and blamelessness. If you can lead a blameless life and a debtless life, those things also will lead to your sustainable happiness. Happiness now and happiness hereafter also. Happiness here and happiness hereafter. That means in the next life also, you will become happy. You will be happy now. You will be happy in the subsequent lives also. So this discourse is about this debtlessness, living with debtlessness, debtless life, debtless living, and blameless living. What is this blameless living? What is this debtless living? That we will see. So then that will be your Ananya Sutta. And this discourse was given to one very famous householder. Many of you might have heard of his name, Anatha Pindika. He was the one who served Buddha in so many ways. He built many monasteries. One very renowned monastery he built in Shavasti, and it's called Anatha Pindika Monastery, Jetavana Rama. In Jetavana he built it, and they say in the scriptures, they say he was so enthusiastic, he was so passionate in listening to Buddha, to be in association with Buddha. He requested Buddha to come all the way from Magadha, like say from Rajgir, like say present day Bihar, let us say, to Shavasti, that is in the present day UP. And he was so firm that if he loses his entire wealth, he was a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire, very big businessman. If he loses his entire wealth also, for the sake of Buddha, he was not at all bothered, because he knew the power of his Dhamma is so magnanimous, so precious than all his wealth. So Buddha agreed. Buddha knew his mind, and Buddha agreed. And this Anatha Pindaka, so he started searching for some suitable place in his city. And of course, for the great masters like Buddha, the place should not be too far from the city. At the same time, it should not be in the city, it should not be too close to the city. Like say maybe a few kilometers away from the city. That is very suitable, because they require silence, they require seclusion. At the same time, they are dependent on the lay people for their livelihood, for their food, for their say other requirements. So a few kilometers from the city is congenial. So I have to find out such place. So he started searching the suitable place. Then he found out one place which belonged to the prince of that place, of that province. His name was Jeta. So he asked that Jeta, I want your place. It is very, very suitable for our Buddha to come and stay here. So then that Jeta, he was not interested in selling that place. So just to escape from the pressure of this multi-billionaire, he was so much forcing him. He told him, so no, I can't give, and it's impossible. So whatever price you give, I don't give. I don't want to sell this land. If you spread the gold coins or the gold plates or the gold, coins, the entire land, and that much wealth, if you give me also, I am not interested in giving. In that way, he says. Or he says, if you spread the land in a joking way, he is told, if you spread the entire land with the gold coins, can you spread that? Can you do that in that way? When he asked, then this Anatha Pindika, he became very happy, and immediately he said, yes, I can spread the entire land with the gold. and that gold belongs to you, give me the land. And that Jeta was shocked. He was very much, moved by this commitment of this Ananna Sutta, and that land was given to Ananna Sutta, and he built a very big monastery, and Buddha stayed there for some 25 years. Jetavana Rama. So in that prince's name only, it became very famous. So that was the devotion, that was the right faith that Ananna Sutta had towards Buddha. So Buddha gave several discourses to this Ananna Sutta also. And one of the discourses is this Ananna Sutta, deathless living, how to live. And by living with the deathlessness, how it leads to one's sustainable welfare, sustainable happiness. So that's what is the background of this Ananna Sutta. So once this Ananna Sutta, he went to Blessed One, and on arrival, having bowed down to Buddha, he sat to one side. As he was sitting there, the Blessed One said to him, there are these 4 kinds of bliss that can be attained in the proper season, on the proper occasions, by a householder who is partaking of sensuality. The householders, of course, they are indulged in sensuality, sensual pleasures. Though your one is a householder, please understand this is an important sutta as far as householders is concerned. Those who are into these sensual pleasures, many people have that guilt when we are in this worldliness with the sensual pleasures, whether we can experience what the Bhante or say that the masters, they say, talk about the joy of equanimity, the samatha, whether we can experience that, because always we are carried away by this sensual happiness or this promoting I-ness and my-ness, this ego happiness only. We are struck, we know only this. Whether we can appreciate, whether we can experience this this equanimity, happiness, or the joy of equanimity. So for such people, this sutta is very, very helpful. So on 4 occasions, on the proper 4 occasions, on 4 conditions, so one can achieve 4 kinds of right happiness, even he is a householder. What are those? Which 4? The bliss of proper giving and getting, properly giving and thereby getting. So whatever bliss you obtain, whatever pleasure, happiness you obtain, that is one kind of happiness, the bliss of giving and having. The bliss of making use of whatever you got. Okay, after getting, then you have to make use of it in a correct way. So that also gives you bliss. That also gives you happiness. By properly earning, that gives you bliss, happiness. The second thing is properly using whatever you have earned. That also gives you bliss. And the third point is, the third occasion a householder gets happiness is the bliss of debtlessness. So if he is carried away by this lot of debts, if he is, trapped by these debts, the debt trap, if a person is in the debt trap, then he can't be happy. A person with that balanced livelihood, if he can see that if he is away from these debts, then that kind of debtlessness also gives the person the right happiness and the bliss of blamelessness. By leading a moral life, a good life, he can become blameless. So that blamelessness also will make a person happy. So these are the 4 conditions that Buddha is explaining to this Ananna Sutta. And what is the bliss of rightly earning? There is the case where the son of a good family has wealth earned through his efforts. With right efforts, with right enterprise, amassed through the strength of his arm and piled up to the sweat of his brow. So Buddha is encouraging hard working and smart working and diligence. The diligent working is Buddha is encouraging. Aradha virya, like say, put forth, exert entrepreneurship, diligence, intelligence in the household activities, in one's profession, in one's earnings. By the sweat of through the sweat of his brow, one should earn righteous wealth, righteously gain. This is one beautiful approach of Buddha. Generally, many spiritual masters, somehow they don't encourage the devotees or the people in this worldliness. But Buddha, he encourages this earning, working with this enthusiasm, with skillfulness, with diligence, and amassing the wealth. Again, many spiritual leaders, spiritual masters, they don't encourage amassing the wealth. But Buddha says, yes, as a householder, as a human being, you have only two goals. One, you have to give up everything and become renunciate and completely give your time and energy for liberation. The other one is you be in the world and exert all your energy and all your intelligence to earn and take care of the people, take care of yourself and people. And again, slowly work for liberation also. So these are the only two ways. And majority of the people in the world are householders. They can't give up everything. They can't become ascetics and full-time meditators. So then when you're in the world, you have to work for amassing the wealth in a rightful way with right diligence and skillfulness and entrepreneurship. So then in that way, Buddha is encouraging. This is also one bliss of one pleasure, one right pleasure. There is also bliss. Amassing the wealth in a rightful way, with the rightful means, is also one right pleasure a householder should experience. So that kind of satisfaction you will get. I have wealth earned through my efforts and enterprise. I amassed through the strength of my arm and piled up through the sweat of my brow. Righteous wealth, righteously gained. By contemplating this, he experiences bliss and he experiences joy. And that is encouraged by me. In that way, Buddha is encouraging this Anathapindika to become a good entrepreneur and amassing the wealth. And what is the bliss of making use of the wealth? It's not just amassing the wealth that gives you bliss, and rightly making use of the wealth also will give you bliss. There is the case where the son of a good family, using the wealth earned through his efforts and enterprise, amassed through the strength of his arm and piled up through the sweat of his brow, righteous wealth, righteously gained, partakes of his wealth and makes merit. So he will also partake, means like a part of it, he will consume, he will make use of it for his happiness, his pleasure, his sensual gratification, and the people, like his family members, friends, dependents, teachers, everyone, ascetics. So he will take care of them by making use of his wealth, and he gives that kind of sensual satisfaction or the minimum physical satisfaction for the people around him. And then when he thinks, using the wealth earned through my efforts and enterprise, amassed through the wealth of strength of my arm, and piled up through the sweat of my brow, righteous wealth righteously gained, I partake of wealth and make merit. And I have partaken this wealth. I have not simply hoarded this, and I have not become stingy and developed a lot of defilements in my mind, a lot of stress and tension in my mind, and also a lot of stress and tension in the minds of the people around me. I have not created. I have distributed this. I have given them pleasure. That also gives a person a true pleasure, true joy for a householder. He experiences bliss in that way by contemplating. He experiences bliss. He experiences joy. This is called the bliss of making use of one's own hard-earned wealth. So that is what is the second bliss that Buddha is talking about for the householders. Then the third bliss that Buddha is talking about is the bliss of debtlessness. That is the actual meaning of this Ananya, Anrina. So what is this bliss of debtlessness? There is the case where the son of a good family owes no debt, great or small, to anyone at all. when he thinks, I owe no debt, great or small, to anyone at all, he experiences bliss, he experiences joy. This is called the bliss of debtlessness. So please understand this. Many of the householders, they don't have this idea. Simply they take up a lot of loans, and then they end up in a lot of stress. When it is less great or small, one should be debt free. One should not owe any kind of debt. And if that kind of thoughts are ringing in one's mind, I am free from debts, that gives a householder an immense joy. He experiences a lot of joy with the debtlessness also. The debt is like one kind of say, it will be always pricking. It's like a thorn. It will be always pricking in the mind, and that creates a lot of stress and tension. So one should lead one's livelihood with this debtlessness, whether it is big debt or a small debt. One should be debt free. That's what is Buddha's suggestion here. Very authoritative suggestion. So then he experiences bliss, experiences joy. This is called the bliss of debtlessness. This is the third condition for a householder's happiness. The fourth condition is, and what is the bliss of blamelessness? One should not be blamed. If people start blaming you for this and that, then again it creates stress, again it creates tension and anxiety. So one should lead a blameless life. There is the case where a disciple of the noble ones is endowed with blameless bodily karma, blameless verbal karma, blameless mental karma. When he thinks, I am endowed with blameless bodily karma, blameless verbal karma, blameless mental karma, he experiences bliss, he experiences joy. This is called the bliss of blamelessness. Here Buddha says, the disciple of the noble ones is talking about the people who are following this Dhamma, the right view. Those who are following this, the right view, they will follow the right action, right speech, and then right livelihood. And once you have taken up this right thoughts, right speech, right livelihood, right action, then you will become blameless. That means you follow morality, the moral precepts, you follow generosity, you will become charitable, of course, according to your ability, and you follow all the meritorious actions. In addition to that, you will follow the right thoughts, you will stick on to the right thoughts, the right intentions you keep, right speech, you start appreciating right speech and start practicing right speech. You start involving in taking up right actions, like non-killing, like not indulging in sexual misconduct, not stealing. All these right actions also you start taking up, not taking intoxicants, and right livelihood where killing is involved, such kind of livelihood you don't take. So in that way, you will become blameless. If you are involved in this, in the wrong actions, wrong speech, wrong livelihood, wrong thinking, wrong thoughts, based on wrong views, for all these things, wrong view is the reason. If you have wrong view and you fall into the trap of this wrong thoughts, wrong actions, wrong speech, all these things, then you will be blamed. The blame will start from within, the blame will start from the outside also. So if you want to be free from this blamelessness, then this right view based thoughts, thinking, right view based speech, right view based actions and livelihood, one should take up. So because of this reason, Buddha is saying a disciple of the noble one. He's not saying ordinary householder. He's saying the person who is into this right view path, then he will appreciate these right actions and all. Then he will become blameless. He can lead a blameless life. And that leads to one's joy, one's true joy in this life and also in the subsequent life. Such a person can definitely die peacefully. If one is facing the blames from the people around him, such a person can't die peacefully also. Even at the death, he can't become peaceful. So this kind of blameless life, debtless life, properly distributing the wealth that is earned and properly earning the wealth, these four conditions again lead to a sustainable living. So in that way, Buddha explains this Ananna Sutta to this, the great Upasak, Maha Upasaka, Anathapindika. Okay. So I think this much is enough for today. And as usual, if you have any questions, for a few minutes we will see, and then we will conclude.
Vandami Banteji.
Sadhusuki Mantu.
Banteji, we have intuitions. The mind becomes intuitive sometimes, Banteji. And we have some dreams also. Like we start deriving some meanings from the dreams. And we sometimes take pride in getting intuitions, Banteji. So is it okay to have intuitions and which turn? But
because a lot
sometimes
of our intuitives, our subconscious is filled with our defilements only.
Yes, Banteji.
Lot of our intuitive ideas, intuitive visions, intuitive expression, intuitive, like even the dreams, or even we will be having based on our exposure in the previous life. Of course, this intuitiveness, it will start accumulating in our mind from time immemorial, based on of course our association, our exposure. If you are in the association of wrong people, then we get the wrong ideas, and then we fill our subconscious with this wrong intuitions, wrong intuitiveness. That is ignorance. So most of our dreams, and trying to analyze the dreams, and it's all again one more ignorance. We are adding up, we are piling up ignorance by unnecessarily analyzing. Don't try to analyze the intuitions which are not, like, say, useful for my life, for my purification of the mind, for my progress in this sustainable living or sustainable happiness, because it is accumulated from millions of lives. Something it may appear now, it may arise now, or some defilement or some memory that was, say, some 1 million years back or 1 million lives back. Some memory, it may crop up, it may arise. What is the need of analyzing that? Let it arise, let it perish. Let it come, let it go. Simply trying to analyze them is again beyond one's, say, domain. It's only the Samma Sambuddhas, Supreme Buddhas. They could see, they know the entire canvas, they know the entire canvas of so many, say, intuitive ideas that were rooted, that were, say, seeded, that were taken into our subconscious, and also the future, based on these intuitive ideas, the future intuitive wisdom or intuitive ignorance, what will happen, that broad canvas that can be seen, that can be, say, experienced, that can be foreseen by the Samma Sambuddhas. So the people who are working on mind purification, they should not be bothered by these dreams and trying to analyze them. All these, some people do that. It's absolutely unauthoritative. Anybody can conclude something based on some nonsense, and it will become a bigger ignorance. And that is not required also. When you are working on these right conditions that I have told now, right entrepreneurship, right, making use of this wealth in the right way, and blameless living, and debtless living. Debtlessness and blamelessness, generosity and morality. If a person practices morality and generosity, dana and shila, he can definitely become debtless and he can definitely become blameless. They are related actually. Generosity and debtlessness, and morality and blamelessness, they are related. And meritorious actions, and the right to meditations, the right to culture of the mind. If one is busy in these things, and all this nonsense of analyzing about the intuitive ideas, about the unnecessary things of the world, exposing to the unnecessary things of the world, all these things will not again corrupt our mind, corrupt our subconscious. So these intuitive ideas, let them come, let them go. But I have my own responsibility, I have my own duties to say progress in the worldly life also, progress in the spiritual life also, based on this right view techniques. If that is very clear in one's mind, then is not bothered about all this subconscious garbage. We are having a lot of subconscious garbage. So if we start analyzing this subconscious garbage, there is no end for it. Okay.
Vandami Banteji, but the thing is like we people have a spiritual inclination, and the actions are wholesome. So does that mean it comes from your subconscious or your conscious mind, Banteji? Because intuitions are
So you should
sometimes
not bother about my
okay.
present situation, the people around me, and my spiritual inclination and all. Now, whatever I'm learning, whether I can implement it, that's the only botheration of a right meditator or the right follower. His only botheration is what are the right things that I'm learning, in what best way I'm making use of them, or using them, or say applying them in my day-to-day life. That's what is one's botheration. Again, if you start analyzing my circumstances, my situation, my people around, and my intuitive ideas and experiences, if you start analyzing, you can't fix it. Then you may again and again you fall into wrong conclusions, and then hatred and greed and jealousy and all these things will start. Then you will go off track. You will lose this main track of how to develop the mind. Simply analyzing some nonsense, it will make you more foolish, more ignorant, more, say, deluded, more confused. So something like the previous thing that I was telling you, if you start analyzing your subconscious mind based on some experiences that you, based on some dreams or experiences, the way you waste your time and life, the same way by start analyzing about why this fellow who is accompanying me, why this person, he has to be, I have to be in touch with him. So in that way, if you start analyzing, again, you will waste your time, waste your energy, waste your, and cultivate and develop more ignorance. If some wrong association, if the mind says I will just see how to avoid and enter into the right association. That's it. Start analyzing why this wrong association, what may be the reason. Then more confusion and more ignorance, more delusion. So through analysis, you can't know about this world and the association and the different conditions. It's only through deep meditation people start experiencing the previous lives and the future lives, and how one previous life is connected to the next previous life. When that much of penetration that inside the mind, if a person achieves, then he will start understanding the different causal agents. And of course, it is even for many arahants, it is difficult. Authoritatively, Samma Sambuddhas can do that. Pacheka Buddhas, some private Buddhas can do that. And some, of course, some Patisambhidanyana, some very powerful arahants can do that. So other than those matured minds, powerful minds, deeply penetrated, the purified minds. So the people who are in the path, who are progressing in the path, they should ignore those things. They should focus on the main track. They should, if they start thinking these unnecessary things, they will go astray. They will fall into they will go off track. Buddha says, so this kind of ideas about the worldliness, worldly conditions, it is something like if you are hit with one poisonous arrow, if you start worrying about who has hit this arrow, what kind of arrow it is, whether it is, what kind of poison he might have used, from what distance he might have shot me. That way, if a person keeps on thinking, then what happens? He will die. The poison will spread in the body and he will die. What is his immediate duty? Yes, I am stuck with this arrow. I'm suffering. How to come out of this suffering? I should go to the hospital and take away this arrow, take away this poison, and I should safeguard. I should save my life. That is his first priority. Not about say whether it is a male or female, man or woman who has hit this arrow. Or in that way, he is simply say contemplating or worrying about the arrow, then he can't save his life. So that is what is that is also one beautiful sutta. So many people, in the name of wisdom, in the name of intelligence, in the name of analytical mind, they analyze some nonsense things. They don't analyze their mind and how to purify the mind and how to take these right techniques to purify the mind. Only in some nonsense things they give all their energy and they think that they have realized something, they have discovered some truth. And because of that kind of off-track discoveries, that will make them more deluded, more confused, more stressful, and more suffering. By analyzing what I get the true happiness, that then it becomes the right analysis, the right logic, the right mind culture. If you analyze like this, some nonsense things which are not relevant, which are not needed at this hour, the need of the hour is not that, then you are increasing your delusion and ignorance. You are not becoming free from the delusion and ignorance. Once Buddha says, in one forest, he took one handful of leaves and he asked his disciples, which is more, the leaves in my hand are more, or the leaves in this forest are more? And they say, obviously, it is the leaves in this forest that is more, not the leaves in your hand. Buddha says, yes, exactly. Whatever I teach is like the leaves in my hand. Whatever I know is like the leaves in this forest. I don't want to tell about this world, these conditions, all these things, like this arrow example I told you, that arrow analogy, the simile of the arrow. All those things I don't want to tell. I want to tell about how to come out of the suffering, because suffering is like, say, that is the right understanding, that is the right wisdom. To know, understand the suffering and the cause of suffering and how to come out of suffering, that is the true wisdom. When you start pursuing this, if you have some matured mental faculty, then you will start understanding about the world and the universe also. Simply worrying about the world and the universe, ignoring your own mind, ignoring your own suffering and the way to come out of your suffering, that will add up to more delusion, more suffering only. So don't bother about the leaves of the forest. Just bother about the leaves that I'm holding in my hand. That means, like this true knowledge, the right knowledge, work on this right knowledge, develop the wisdom to understand this right knowledge. Then automatically all other things, that's also not necessary, but people are so curious nowadays. If you are stuck in that unnecessary curiosity, that wrong curiosity, then you go astray, then you go off track. then you cultivate, then you fill more garbage into the mind. In one book, I think there is an analogy. So Buddha, he knew everything about the universe by going inwards, by understanding his mind through the right view approach, and he became absolutely happy person, free from all kind of distress, stress, anxiety. And there is one German scientist. He could find out the ultimate form of matter. He could discover, or he could invent one bubble chamber, and he could see the ultimate matter is like some bubbles only, some waves only. And many people, they started by, oh, he could discover the ultimate reality of the world. But his mind was full of confusion, full of stress, full of anxiety. By exploring the truths externally, we'll end up in more confusion, more stress, more suffering only. If you start imploring or exploring the truths internally by this right view approach, understanding the mind, by practicing these different tips that we are learning through these meditation classes and in these Dhamma talks, you implement these things, apply these things, and practice these things, and mind also becomes truly wise, truly sharp, truly intelligent. At the same time, you start walking towards the liberation, freedom, the true joy also. The intelligence should always associate with joy, not with confusion, not with more garbage, more tension. Then that is not the right intelligence. The intelligence should always supported by, or it should be associated with the joy, the true joy. Then only you are progressing in intelligence or wisdom. So in that way, understanding where our curiosity should be, where our focus should be, which aspect of the life we should focus and learn and get both intelligence and joy, there one should work, not in some unnecessary things.
Vandami Bhanteji. Thank you.
Vandami Bhanteji.
Yes, Supasad.
Bhanteji, I have one question. Till today, Upasak Ananna Pindika cannot be equal to any Upasaka of today because he has contributed his whole wealth in the construction of Buddha Vihara in the service of Buddha and Sangha at Sravasti. At his end of life, could he become Arahant?
No.
Why?
He was a householder,
and
he became Sotapanna. Sotapanna means like, or like say, he could see the glimpse of Nibbana. He could see the glimpse of Nibbana. But in 7 lives, the maximum of 7 lives, he can become Arahants. So Ananna Pindika was a Sotapanna.
Okay.
So, at the most, in 7 lives, he can become an Arahant. Householders, they can't become Arahants. If they become Arahants, either they die or they will become complete renunciates. They have to give up their house and they should become renunciates. That is the condition for Arahanthood. Up to Anagami, one should be in the worldly life. Anagami means like 1 step below this Arahanthood. And below that is Sagadagami, and below that is Sotapanna. Sotapanna's maximum 7 lives. Sagadagami, maximum 1 life. Anagami, of course, they don't return to this world, this human world. There is one Shuddhavasa, there is one Brahmic realm called Shuddhavasa. They will take birth after death, and from there they will be liberated. But these Sotapannas, they can come back to this world, or they can take birth in some divine realms, but they have to go through at the most 7 lives. Even before that also, if they practice Dhamma, if they can become Arhants, but at the most 7 lives, they will become Arhants. Even in 1 life also, they can become Arhants. That is possible. And this Anathapindika, of course, though he supported, like many, of course, many Mallika and many kings and many people, those who are lay people, there's Visakha, there's one lady, very pious lady like Anathapindika. They became Sotapannas. It's okay, even a lay person becomes Sotapanna, means he's also an Arya. He also has seen the glimpse of Arhanthood. Seeing the glimpse of Arhanthood is good enough. That will pull the mind to completely work on that and to become.
Thank you, Vante.
Vandami Bante ji.
Yes, Upasak.
Hello.
I'm Ranpise. Vandami Bante.
Yeah.
Bante, I want to ask only one question. Up till now, you have given this all very nicely. You have explained. I just want to say, because you, in some way, you have explained also this question's answer. In illness, whether it is possible to reduce our pain through right views.
Is it possible to induce our peers?
Yeah.
In this right view?
Yes.
That is your question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, of course, it's possible. That's how Dhamma spreads, no? Or the right view spreads, no? So inducing the peers, there are so many ways. Of course, by skillfully, based on, say, their exposure, their temperament, what is exactly they need, and which aspect of Dhamma, which aspect of this right view can be more appealing to them. That way, if a person is very good in communication, he can induce this right view in others' minds, or like inducing this right view by encouraging them to attend this kind of meditation sessions or Dhamma talks. So you yourself, it may be very difficult to make them understand right view, or authoritatively explain them right view. You can influence them, you can say, encourage them to attend this kind of right view sessions. And then practicing the right view, how you are progressing in this right view. That will also be a great inspiration. That will also inspire the people around you, your peers. That way, there are so many different ways to induce the peers. Of course, with compassion, with skillfulness, one should induce the people around us to take up this right view mind culture. One should design one's own ways and means, depending on the situation, how this person can be pulled to this right view, how this person can be encouraged in this path of right view. What is his background, his temperament? So how can I say induce or influence him or pull him towards this right view? What if not me? Who is the other person who can help him? How can I pull the other person to help this person? Just like our coordinators, our promoters, our volunteers are doing it. So it depends on how much concern you, just like the way you handle your kids, small kid. If the kid is not learning something, you use some other way, some other design. And if he is not learning, then you use some other skill to teach that particular thing. Like say, if you want to teach the kid how to eat, the feeding or walking, then you adopt so many techniques. If this one will not work, then which other technique will work? He's walking. If he can't walk, then how to take the support of the wall and he can walk, or some kind of say some toys or some supporting equipment that will help him to stand and walk. So you design so many ways now to make your kid to walk, to make your kid to speak, to make your kid to eat. The same way, it of course depends on your concern, your compassion. So if you have concern and compassion, your mind will design different ways and means to pull your peers and the family members and the relatives to this right view. It's possible.
Thank you, Bante.
Yeah, yes, Vikas Patil.
Vandavi Banteji, I
Sorry,
have a question about energy in old age.
Sorry?
I have seen an old mom, video of old mom about 85 years, but having great energy for meditation, doing meditation. I still wonder how he is derived energy for this meditation. How can we get energy in old age about for meditation on the walk of?
Be a little louder. Be a little louder.
Hello.
Be a little louder. Yeah.
Hi.
Repeat your question.
My question is about getting energy for meditation in old age. I have seen an old monk's video about he may be about above 85 years and doing meditation. How I wonder how he will be getting energy in this old age for this meditation and walking on this path. Can you guide me about this? How the source of energy will get in the older age?
How the old people gain energy without eating? Without eating, they were practicing meditation. That's what you are telling.
No, I say that I am saying that the monk.
Okay, we'll conclude. Some problem.
I want that energy. I also want that energy. How I can get it?
No, next time you can ask Upas. There's some problem with your mic. Okay.
Okay, Banteji, okay.
So there is some questions here in the chat box. No. It's a good discourse, wonderful discourse. Grateful, wonderful discourse. Okay, so we'll conclude with one small chanting. Namo tassa bhagavato arhato samma sambuddhassa bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te sukhi bhave yannidduko ahang niccha ahang viya idacha me sukhi hontu majjata chatavedino imam hi gammante dhamme satta hontu sukhi sada tato parancarajjesu chakkavale sujantano sadhu 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 sukhi hontu.
Thank you, Banteji.
Thank you, Banteji. Vandami Banteji.
Thank you.
Vandami Banteji.